Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So this video today is going to be about cognitive and memory issues. I've been getting a lot more requests to talk about this, a lot of questions. People have been asking me if I had that experience personally or that particular symptom, and so I wanted to cover it in a video. But before I get started, I just wanted to mention again that I am doing one-on-one supportive coaching. I am offering it at lower rates than other places you would find online. I offer 15-minute free consultations, 30-minute calls, 60-minute calls, and then I just recently put together coaching packages. So if you are looking for something a little bit more regularly, then you can pay for just a package of sessions up front at another reduced discounted rate. So that's available. I will leave the link to my online booking calendar in the description of this video. I also will leave my email address. If you have just a single question you want to ask me, feel free to do that. Please just keep it to one single question because I just don't have time anymore to answer lengthy emails. So check those out. I also will post the link to my website. So I have a website. You can check out my services and more of my story there if you're interested. So onto the video about cognitive and memory issues. Like I said, I've had a lot of people asking me about this symptom lately. And I'll offer my own personal perspectives based on the people that I've been coaching, all of the conversations I've had over the years that I've been in this situation or in this community. So cognitive issues, memory issues, they're very often tied together. So this could look like the inability to do simple math, the inability to form proper sentences or conversations in a person's head before they send a text message or write something down. Or it could be the complete inability to recall what they did yesterday, last week, or if they have something that they're supposed to be doing, the inability to remember what they're supposed to be doing day to day. This can range from mild to severe. And my own personal perspective is I have shared in other videos where it seems like some people, when they come off these drugs, go into a very heightened state where they have sort of the typical fight or flight symptoms like akathisia, adrenaline surges, insomnia, anxiety, OCD, can be DPDR, just a lot of nerve sensations and overactivity feeling. And then there's another group of people who it seems like their nervous system's almost shut off. So they have more symptoms like heavy limbs and weakness and extreme fatigue and sometimes things like cotton brain or just the inability to move freely, and they just feel bedridden and they have a lot of pain, or they don't feel bedridden, they are bedridden and they have a lot of pain, and just they don't feel anxiety or any of that per se, but it just feels like everything shuts off. Sometimes they have more physical symptoms, like I've seen issues where people have hair, skin, and nail problems. So their hair all breaks off and they have almost sagging skin, similar to Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, where those people have that skin that really stretches. I've seen that before from these drugs or withdrawal reactions to these drugs. And I couldn't really figure out how some people seem to have the jacked up and some people seem to have the shutting off. But I had a conversation today with a good friend of mine. He is also in this community and has been for about as long as me. And he said, well, remember, there's a third branch to the fight or flight mechanism, which is freeze. And people with cognitive and memory issues might just be dealing with the freeze aspect of it. Even if they have other symptoms of typical fight or flight, they can also have this other side of the coin part where they freeze. And or maybe they, like I kind of want to break it up. So there's people who have all the jacked up symptoms all the time and none of the cognitive and memory issues. Then there's another group of people where everything shuts down, like I just described, and that can include cognitive and memory issues. Then there's a third group of people who have the fight or flight, jacked up, hyperstimulation symptoms, plus the cognitive and memory stuff. So you can fall into any of these camps. And so when I was having this conversation with my friend, he said, these people who have cognitive and memory issues could just be falling into the freeze part of fight or flight. So fight, flight, freeze, and fawn are actually the four responses that people have when there's a threat or a danger. They're nervous system responses. And so for me, it makes sense that the cognitive and memory issues fall under that freeze, because I talked about it in my DPDR video, and I think, not even just I think, if you research DPDR, they'll say that it's typically a protective mechanism. So people who are very overstimulated, their brain is overstimulated, it almost needs to check out in order to protect itself from all of the stimulation. And I'm wondering if the cognitive and memory issues fall under that same category, where it's a protective thing. It's like I'm in survival mode. I need to pull together all my resources, like of the body, to protect myself, to keep myself alive. And remembering what I did yesterday or doing basic math just aren't that important right now. So that makes more sense to me, because like I said, I couldn't really figure it out in my head why some people who came off the same drug, say benzos, were always jacked up, and then another group of people was always shut down, and then a third group of people was jacked up plus shut down in certain areas. But I've mentioned this again in other videos where it doesn't really matter, I don't think, what the particular symptom is that you have. The overarching problem is nervous system being stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and it's just dysregulated. It's hypersensitized, and that shows up in different people in different ways. And I know people get hyper focused on symptoms. I did for a very long time, with my ruminating, my rapid fire thoughts and images and looping intrusive thoughts that I had for so long that just would never shut off, the hallucinations, the sensations. I couldn't find a lot of people that had that manifestation, and so I would hyper focus on that and freak out and think that there was something else wrong with me, or I was particularly brain damaged. And there could be the possibility where these drugs affect people's brains or cause issues in different parts of people's brains, but I think it's actually just more an overarching thing where it's nervous system dysfunction. It's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and that can come with hundreds of different symptoms. And normally when we have acute stress, we go into one of those protective responses, and then our body comes back to regulation. But whatever happens when we take these drugs, it gets stuck in those states, and so the manifestation and the different potential types of symptoms, there's hundreds of them. So, and I don't think that you have to fret if you have these symptoms of cognitive and memory issues, because again, it's something that people recover from. If you're familiar with Baylis's work or Baylis's story, I know that she struggled a lot with cognitive and memory stuff. I remember one article I read by her where she talked about how she kept a notepad beside her all the time just to write down basic things, because it's like her brain just couldn't recall things when she needed it to. She couldn't remember things, and so she was always writing everything down. And once she fully recovered, those symptoms went away. So I believe it's the same thing for you if you have cognitive or memory issues. So I personally didn't really deal with that. I feel like I have more brain issues, or memory issues, I should say, now, but I attribute that to hormonal and mom brain and post-pregnancy and pregnancy brain, which is another real thing. But before I got pregnant, I didn't have a lot of that memory and cognitive shutting down stuff. My brain was just so jacked up all the time, just filled with rapid fire hallucination, intrusive thoughts, that I didn't have room in my brain for anything else. I don't even know how I held conversations, because I could hardly ever think straight, because my mind was just running every second of the day for so long. So, but I have talked to so many people that have sort of the shutting down of the body and or the brain in whatever protective mode your body decides to go into from this nervous system hyperactivity threat. So I hope you find that somewhat helpful, somewhat comforting. I am noticing a lot of people asking about it more and more through my coaching, through YouTube, and all of the messages I get every single day. So don't fret if you have that symptom. I think, once you get further along in your healing, it will recover like everything else does. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think that this is a freeze mechanism? Do you think it's a protective mechanism? Have you talked to others who have this symptom? Even if you haven't, that's okay. I've talked to lots of people who have these symptoms. What are your thoughts on it, and how does it manifest for you? I'm curious to know. I'm always trying to gather more information from people's experiences, because it helps me to help others. And yeah, if you're interested in chatting, feel free to book a session, a 15-minute consult, or something longer if you want to chat about many different things or have many different specific questions for me. And check out the description box for my website and my links and my email address. And I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.